Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the feat Sharpshooter.
God, I really hope you are. Am I right? It's gonna look so funky if you're pointing off screen and I'm putting off screen. Anyway, yeah, Sharpshooter is
We've done that for
bonkers.
months.
Excellent. Yeah, this feat is not okay. This feat is, uh, I will go
I'm
as far as to say a problem.
I'm going to disagree. I've read your review. I've read similar reviews to yours, but go ahead.
Okay, Sharpshooter. Anyone can take it. It's a feat. You've mastered ranged weapons, can make shots others find impossible. You get the following benefits. Attacking at long range does not impose disadvantage on your ranged weapon attack rolls. Your ranged weapon attack rolls ignore half and three-quarter cover. Before you make an attack with a ranged attack roll you are proficient with, you can take a -5 penalty to the attack. If it hits, add +10 to its damage. Oh boy, Sharpshooter's a feat. Oh boy.
I
So, all
love
right,
it.
listen, it is very powerful.
Yes.
I think that there are tables where it will not be abused, where it will simply make the two attack a turn ranger in the mid tiers and upper tiers feel like they're keeping up. I think on characters like rogues, this is a perfectly fine feat that's probably not even that good.
Okay. All right. Then we're pretty much in agreement because I'm speaking specifically as someone who almost always plays a rogue. And this
On
one,
rogues, this is about as fair as you could ask for.
this
This
feels
is
necessary for me.
I don't know about I don't know if I would go as far as to say it's necessary on your rogues, but it is very helpful. I think more often than not, you're as rogues, you're hopefully hitting something that's already being hit by other people, and your job is just to be the high end of damage for that. So like your paladin engages and
Mm.
you're hitting it the same thing. You probably don't care as much about cover for those instances. Your job is to kill giant big things that are scary with your big damage dice, whereas like I would see this more as like a ranger or fighter option if you're trying to get things that are attacking you from narrow quarters. There's normally like, a band of brigands going down using cover and whatnot. This is better handling those. Um, so where Sharpshooter is perfectly fine, where Sharpshooter doesn't cause any problems, and it can cause problems on rogues and rangers that I mentioned prior in these specific circumstances. Sharpshooter becomes a problem whenever the entire group recognizes we're in enough environments that are far enough out that don't have ample enough cover that our rogue ranger, whoever is a sharpshooter feat, can simply draw their longbow and shoot anything that comes within 600 feet of them well before the fight can ever even start. There will become times where the entire party's best course of action is huddling around the sharpshooter, taking the help action off cooldown, so that anything that comes in range, they're getting advantage on shooting because they're like spotted, and then shooting them from 600 feet out with a longbow for a d8 +5 +10. Now, if you're on characters with multi-attack, it's 2d8 +20 +10. And on characters with, more than two attacks a turn, like fighters, it's 3 to 4 instances of a d8 +15, which,
All right, that's nuts.
it,
But,
it's
but,
a
but, but,
big problem.
but going back to what you're saying about the 600 feet, now, when I made my argument for Firebolt, you countered with, oh, how often does that kind of range matter?
Okay. The distance difference between 120 and 600 is literally 5 times that.
I understand, but
So let's talk about scope. Firebolt, I said, wasn't that valued because Firebolt is 120-foot range. It is a d10 damage at baseline. Even scaling, it's doing 2d10, 3d10 damage. The amount of time at exactly 120 feet where that is going to give you extra free attacks, if you will, is roughly however many times it takes a creature to dash there. Creature with 30 speed can get there in 2 rounds. Dash, dash. A creature 600 feet out, you see where this is going,
yeah, I see where it was going. But
needs
no, but
10
that
rounds
wasn't your
to
argument.
get, or
Your
sorry,
argument was,
5 rounds to get there.
the battle maps just aren't that big, so who cares?
Often they aren't. Often the battle maps
Yeah.
aren't that big. And in that instance, that is where Sharpshooter starts to become more fair whenever you're going battle map to battle map to battle map, where it becomes more of an issue. Firebolt doesn't really necessarily have that much room off of a battle map to fire from. off of battle map with Firebolt, you're probably scooting onto the battle map in a half of a second, right? Because it's just that small of a distance. When you have 600 feet to play with, your goal is to never hit the battle map. Your goal is to kill things before they can engage you at a skirmish distance they can't possibly keep up with. They can't ever look to see where you are without potentially taking an arrow that cuts off their head. That is the kind of thing that Sharpshooter imposes. Now, I'm not suggesting that most people play Sharpshooter this way. I'm not suggesting that that is a real case, use case scenario. I have been at tables that have stumbled into this is how they should use it. I have seen people talk about the discourse around it and saying, this is how my group uses it, help, I don't know what to do. So I know that it is a pain point for a lot of DMs. I think it's a really major pain point too, because there aren't great solutions to it. The great solutions to it tend to be everything now is just close quarters. You're going underground, you're going into strict urban settings, there's full cover everywhere. So many environments get turned off by that. A lot of environmental exploration, a large part of D&D, the adventure of it is going out into the wilds, going out into the unknowns, going into, ancient ruins and valleys, big cinematic set pieces over sprawling landscapes. Like the whole of Lord of the Rings takes place where a sharpshooter would murder everything before a fight started, right? That is in line with the problem with it. All of these words together, all of them mattering, all of them being a paired with the archery fighting style that gives you +2 to hit, it takes any of the mitigating circumstances that make this feel fair and just throws them out the window. It takes it so that you can't use this as a long-range tool to make the really narrow shot that's otherwise literally impossible, because it does away with everything that would penalize it by getting rid of the full cover, by getting rid of the range increment problems. This is saying you can be 600 feet away, see someone's ankle through 12 different sources of 1/2 and 3/4 cover and make the shot no problem, no chance of failure, as if you were shooting someone 40 feet from you. And I find that there's no build up to this. This would be if these words could come together around 17th level and you could finally have the the deep, super awesome sniper attacking from this kind of distance. If this were like attached to physical archetypes of a rogue archetype for like assassins, for example, or if you had a long-term bow shooting kind of archetypes that existed and this built up to be a 17 level capstone, I'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. This is now I'm imposing this penalty on the game the way the wizards are imposing the meteor rain problem and the wish problem and all the other things, right? Like that is where this scope feels to me, and you can take it at the gate. You can be a very inhuman and start with this feature, and it makes things very difficult to navigate for a DM. It can.
You're convincing me. I think I get more out of this feat because I don't play well.
I think, and honestly, while you may say like, oh, I'm bad at D&D, you probably are about as good as the average player for like the vast majority of gameplay. I think that most people aren't going to have a problem with Sharpshooter, and that most people aren't going to be like, there'll be people that don't for some reason. For some reason, there will be people that won't try and get the +10 to damage. And I'm letting you know right now, unless you know you're killing it, if it takes any damage at all, take the -5 to hit. It is always worth it, even if its AC is like, that's with the exception, if this -5 puts it out of your hit range entirely, then don't take the -5. But other than that, other than something that's dealing with a 23, 24 AC, it has to be bigger than that. It has to be like a 26 or 27 AC for you to not want to take the -5 to hit. Or it has to be already dead to your hit for you to not think it's worth doing it. If you look at the math, which I will briefly touch on because math is fun, a D8 +5 versus a D8 +15 is well under half. D8 is roughly 4.5 damage, +5 gives you 9. And if you add 10 to that, you're functionally hitting twice for 1 arrow. And that is way better whenever you're taking what is functionally, it'll feel like hitting 25% less often. And that's not even normally the case. Normally you're still hitting very, very often because you're getting +2 from your fighting style, because you're, getting an advantage on these attack rolls that make it so that the penalty is even more unnoticeable. There's just going to be a lot of times where you're not going to miss regardless. It is nearly always correct to take the -5 to hit if you want to ever play with this feat. I hope the viewers out there don't go, oh, well, it's got an AC of 14 and I really think we just need to do some amount of damage to it. No, Sharpshooter in the face, kill the motherfucker. It's like you put it down because you do the big damage. That's what you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're gonna play like that, why bother having Sharpshooter?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
It is. I really wish that this was like you could have some of this feat. Like I give it a damage bump to the range casters or the range users. Like I think mitigating their weaknesses by removing the range penalty, by removing 3/4 cover, takes this feat and makes it just feel like a ubiquitous blanket answer to everything, where you
Yeah.
become this auto-killing turret that can't miss. I wish that piece of text wasn't here. And instead let it be a high risk, high reward kind of thing, where like even maybe have sharpshooter's text care if like don't necessarily have the -5 penalty, but maybe you do get plus damage if you are firing a disadvantage from long range. Maybe you can have some fun trade-offs there, or maybe it's you can either have the damage or you can ignore the disadvantage at max range, right? Give us one or the other, but having everything piled together like this, it creates just a breeding ground for major problems. I love
Yeah.
Great Weapon Master. Great Weapon Master is exactly the same camp at casual tables, at groups that aren't, trying to maximize its effectiveness, at tables that aren't trying to break the game in half and create a circumstance where it's a gigantic battery of damage. Sharpshooter is more reusable than Great Weapon Master is, but it still will feel fun to use. If you're not, if you're at a table to cover, like you don't know the AC, the 3/4 covers grants, it probably is perfectly fine there and is going to feel just like Great Weapon Master. At other tables, though, where they're a little bit more crunchy, this is a real big problem.
Yeah, I mean, it could be broken up into 2 or 3 separate feats, and I'd probably strive to take them to get this effect.
It's a good, like, maybe it's just the first two are 1 feat and the second one's another feat, right?
Yeah.
There are definitely better ways to present this. I honestly think that the -5 to hit, +10 to damage mechanic, it feels fun to use. It feels like I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit. I'm gonna go here, and then you hit with it, and it feels like you're critting. And I think that's nice. I think that's, while missing, it's you know what you're signing up for, right? It's
Yeah.
still where it's at now. Maybe it's just can't be on long range characters. I think that like being able to do this safely feels counterintuitive to me. Being able to do this from 600 feet out, being able to do this from even like 300 feet out, it doesn't feel like you're actually really taking much risk whenever you can just fire 4 more arrows off. It doesn't feel like you're taking much risk whenever they still have to get to you,
Yeah.
right? Whereas with Great Weapon Master, no, you're risking it. Like you not hitting that and killing this thing right now could result in you taking more damage, right? There is some cool
Hmm.
volatility to it. There's some intensity to it that Sharpshooter kind of lacks for me. It makes me really wish maybe there's a different way to give range characters more damage than this. Just because like the high risk, high reward -5 +10 damage is neat for melee things. It's neat for the, risk it all barbarians, reckless attacking every single turn kind of deal. It doesn't necessarily feel like this fits thematically to me. Like what, like I don't see the character that's like, lines up the shot. It's perfect. I guess now you miss entirely because you were trying to hit them in the heart. Huh? Like you're probably still hitting them. The -5 penalty here is what exactly representing? Because you're just slightly off the target and now it doesn't do any damage. I don't know. I think it's odd. I
Well,
think
I
it's
mean, if maybe when they have cover, that's where the -5 comes in.
yeah, maybe. I mean, that's supposed to just be their AC bump, though. That's just supposed to be the penalty you take for shooting someone with 3/4 cover. Is it's
I'm,
harder to
I'm
hit,
talking
right?
thematically. I don't know. I'm making stuff up.
I don't know. I don't see it. I think this feat was a big. I think people like using this feat because the mechanic is inherently very fun, and I think most tables, again, aren't going to have necessarily that big a problem with it. I do think if you are struggling with this feat, I don't have a lot of good answers for you. I personally am the kind of person that I try and read the players I'm working with before I approach the table, and if I can tell we're at a very power gaming table, I go, great team out the gate. I'd like Sharpshooter to not be an option just because it creates a very difficult to navigate environment for me to challenge you in fun and interesting ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have the answers to how to solve this one. Know that I do sometimes ban it. I think it is really, 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 really good. And if you're at a table that's playing casually and you're not planning on, everyone stop. If I see something, I'm killing it from 600 feet away. It'll probably be fine. If you're the kind of person that goes, no, tactically, I should just be killing everything 600 feet away, maybe don't take this because it is going to warp the game in a really powerful way that's going to make a lot of other people feel like, why am I playing this game whenever this person just kills everything?
Yeah.
Like, for reference, we had a bard in our a rogue in our group that took Mastermind, which gives you a bonus action to help. Literally for, I think it was 3 subsequent encounters before I was like, hey, we need to stop and address this. This is becoming a bit of an issue. I've tried challenging in a couple different ways. Very clearly it's not working. Literally his whole job, and it became a group running joke. He just sat behind the sharpshooter and bonus action helped him every single turn for as long as he possibly could.
Mm.
That was the most efficient way for him to do what he did. And he was never in range to take shots with the short bow because the longbow's 600-foot range, right?
Yeah.
It is an issue for some. And I think you should keep that in mind before taking it. And you should keep that in mind when DMing for it.
Yeah, this is I'm certainly not a good DM, and this this could be one of the reasons why. This sort of thing. Uh, I don't have the answers either.
Yeah, it's good
But
designers and either. I'm pretty sure in the next edition they're reworking this one from the ground up.
oh, well, we'll see that when it happens.
That we will.
We got a rating for this?
5 out of 5. This is
Yeah.
busted. I think the only thing better than this in the game is Lucky, and that's just because Lucky is inherently flawed.
Yeah. All right. That was Sharpshooter. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.